I mean, I've had people who want to marry me at the end of my speech, and believe me, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
And I've had people who want to kill me, and I don't think I was that bad either.
Nigel Risner is a world-class communication expert. He's the author of several books. He's coached Fortune 500 execs, a global speaker who takes inspiration to the next level.
So you've done podcasts for how long? And at least 10% of them would have been a bit pissed with the way you've done this interview.
What is the common trait that you see in people that are successful in life?
They can
Have you ever wondered how your life could change if you communicated more effectively? Nigel's going to address the pressing questions in communication and success with both humour and wisdom.
Some people have a vested interest in your life not working. And when it all goes wrong, you find out who your friends are. Deborah Meaden just wants bottom line information. I don't want to know about fluff. Just tell me, is it environmentally friendly, yes or no?
PepsiCo said this: you will understand exactly how to positively impact your teams after listening to Nigel Risner.
And if we want to continue the argument, we both have to get naked. I'm so pleased to be here. I couldn't believe when we met in Marbella and we said, let's do something. You know those things that never happen?
Yeah.
But I knew it would, but I just didn't know when.
Persistence.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, you know, when you meet people, you think, I'd like to do some more. I don't know how it's going to look. So I have a phrase called high intention, low attachment. So the intention was to meet, but I didn't know how we were going to meet.
Then we meet again, and look, we've just come out here, and you're hugging everyone out there as
and
usual.
Kissing,
hugging and kissing. So what is the common trait that you see in people that are successful in life?
So they let go of ego.
Really?
Yeah. Ego gets in the way. So if you look at ego and emotion, get ready for this, you're going to like this. If you look at ego and emotion, you take both E's out of those two words, you get go emotion.
I like that.
But too many people have got ego and they're so emotive about what it needs to look like. So I was just talking to one of your colleagues outside. I'm never, ever going to be a perfect speaker, trainer, parent, grandpa. No, I think I'm a good papa. But I'm never going to be perfect. And when you can let go of perfection and you have what we call excellence, there's a chance of success. So successful people know they can never get perfection. Because however good you and I might be, I promise you there's someone better than us.
Yeah.
And when they get to that level, there's someone better than them. And whatever wealth you've got, there's another person, whatever. So I think I'm pretty cool. And I think I've been married 39 years next week. Happily 4, by the way, but been married 39 years. Life is really good. But I'm sure I'm not perfect. And I've got flaws. And when I present, I get some words wrong. But my clients don't mind because they know I'm trying the best I can be. I'm trying to be the best version of me to have the most fun I can have. And successful people know that.
Well, look, you're pretty experienced. You're pretty successful. You've spoken around the world on stage. You've wrote books. I've got one in front of me. I'm going to mention it in a second. Has ego ever got the better of you, though?
Yeah. So I got asked to do some after-dinner speaking. And after-dinner speaking is a very different kettle of fish. And it's very good money. And up comes for me, I could do that. And to be totally honest, I was shite. But there's a major issue because in that audience, that's how you're going to get viewed and judged. And I didn't prepare the right way, but I thought I could wing it. And that's the big mistake. Successful people don't wing stuff. We look like, and it's a bit like this talk, we look like we're just going off the cuff. But you've got some notes and I've got some ideas. And this is not my first rodeo and it's definitely not yours.
Yeah.
But successful people know there's going to be a couple of questions that challenge you, so you breathe. And after dinner speaking is totally different because the audience want anecdotal funny stories from the dressing room or from the locker room if you're a sports star. They don't want to be inspired and empowered. And I'm trying to do all this clever stuff and then add a couple of jokes. And I'm not funny as on my own. I need to play off an audience. But when you're doing after dinner at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and I don't drink, not for any religious reasons, so it's late at night, and I think I'm one of the best in the world, just for the record, between 8 o'clock and 11:30. And I'm in the top 10 between 11:30 and 4. And I'm in the top 62 million after 4:30. So before I even start, it's the wrong time of day.
So you're the number one in the UK?
Between 8 and 11.
No, you're number one in the UK after 4:30 a.m.
8 a.m. to 11:30 in the morning.
Right, so not the after dinner speech. I was going with the after dinner, the 8 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely not. And because in my mind, because you start having limited beliefs and you start saying you're not that good. I've done a couple of after dinner and they've been okay. The problem is that what's your football team?
Liverpool.
Okay, so Liverpool right now on a roll, but Liverpool will have a match one game this season.
We're not going there without you telling me yours right now.
Okay, AFC Wimbledon.
There you go. Beautiful.
Okay, and you know about AFC Wimbledon because they beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. Yeah. That was a one-off, which just proves that you could be phenomenal doing a one-off speech. The problem is, when you look at consistency, Liverpool are a little bit better. And as a speaker, I know my subjects. And when you do after dinner, unless you're a consummate professional, you suck. Because people don't want to hear that stuff. And you better be very funny, very rude, very blue, if that's your style. The problem is, that's everything that I'm not. So I try to do it.
I don't know. I've seen you speak and you were pretty funny, man.
Yeah, no, because I'm playing off an audience. But
Right.
if it's at 9:30 at night and it's a dark room and people are tanked up,
Got it.
they want to hear not necessarily mother-in-law jokes, but they want to hear that stuff. 20 minutes quick fire. That's not me. There are some phenomenal after dinner speakers.
What were your lessons on ego then? Because you went into that, yeah, I can do this.
Partly because the person who introduced me went Speaker of the Year from Vistage, Speaker of the Year, the Academy and Chief Execs, one of the youngest CEOs, and you think you're invincible. The minute you think that way, there's only one way you can go. And I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later, but I had a very, very successful finance company, and when it all went tits up, and I'm now minicabbing in my car, which we'll come on to in a second, and I had to open up the back door of my car to two women going to Colindale Bingo. It was a real leveller. Because at that level you think, oh my God. And for the record, the trip was £4.50 and the woman gave me £5 and said, keep the change. The petrol in my...
And you were pleased.
And the petrol in my Bentley was £6.50. But that's a separate story.
So you were minicabbing in a Bentley?
In a Bentley, yeah. Because that was my company car. But I had no money. And... what was really interesting, as an aside, my relationship with my wife improved when it all went wrong because we had to communicate. We had to be really real with each other.
Amazing.
Whereas most couples, when there's real monetary issues, that's where they split.
Maybe we should go here right now. You know, when did it all start going wrong in that finance company?
So I was one of the youngest CEOs at 26. So I had offices in Bournemouth, Brighton, Exeter, Brighton, New Malden and Scotland, and we specialised in nursing homes, residential homes, pubs and hotels. And in the 80s, finance was a boom and nursing homes was a boom. And then I made a mistake of buying my partner out. I had a 62-year-old estate agent partner, and I thought I could buy him out, we'd then go public, and the world would be my oyster, and the company was worth millions. And I bought him out for cash, because he didn't want any shares. So he put in £12.80, and I gave him 1.7 million for his shares, and I then sold shares for the same amount of money. So I didn't benefit from it, but I got majority stake.
Yeah.
But the second you give up part of your business and you then have either venture capital or shareholders, you really are just working for them. And for anyone who's listening, you have to be very careful with venture capital because they have a different focus than what you have. But I didn't know that because I was too young, I was too immature. I didn't have a business coach. I didn't know what I know now. Because if I knew then what I know now, I would never have bought my partner out. I was on to such a good thing. But ego got in the way.
Okay, so you wouldn't have bought your partner out. What would you have done?
I would have worked with him for 2 or 3 years longer, got private funding, because we were lending money as well. So we had a commercial finance company, we had an insurance and a life insurance division, we had a pensions division, and we had a private lending company. But in the late 80s, everyone was buying each other and everyone was being sold and big groups of estate agents were being floated. And we were going public 8 days. We dropped down flotation 8 days before we were going public.
Wow.
8 days. And if you know much about that...
What was the decision behind that?
Because NatWest Bank put out a report that any company under 50 million wasn't worth investing in.
Well, 8 days before you were about to go.
Yeah, and ironically, Millwall Football Club my company was called Millbourne, and Millwall were going public at the same time. And I had a phone call from one of the sports things. Was I interested in a player? They got a bit confused between us, which was just a bizarre. But we were so close, and had we gone public, it might have been a different story. But there's flotation costs, there's financial advisor costs. And a lot of people don't realise that the minute advisors get involved, it's a bit like I've never been divorced, but the minute you start talking to a lawyer, it's hundreds of pounds an hour. And before you know it, instead of having some sort of settlement, you've given a lot of money away to professional people. You need to be really clear, and you need to have a great business coach, and you need to have great sound financial advice. But there's a phrase that says, some people have a vested interest in your life not working. And I had people who didn't want to see me succeed, who were jealous of my success. And because I've got a big mouth, I still do. But I thought it was easy.
How did you deal with them?
Well, I didn't know it at the time. That's the problem. You don't know about them. And when it all goes wrong, you find out who your friends are. So I resigned from my own company and started all over again from home with 1 month's money. And I had a kid in private school, I had a kid with mild cerebral palsy, I had physiotherapy bills, and I'd bought my house on the basis we were going public, and I had to save the house. Well, for both of us, the one thing we're not scared of is hard work. And when your back's to the wall, and I'd done mini-cabbing, and I'd worked from 6 at night till 2 in the morning, I'm not scared of hard work. But when you're doing it for yourself and your family, it's a different story. And within 2 years, I got most of my money back.
Do you know, I was mentored by the former England rugby manager, all right? A very successful guy. And this was before the London Olympics. And he said something that I've remembered forever, which was, when he loses a match, some people text him. And when he wins a match, loads of people text him. And ever since he said that to me, I've become the person that, you know, when something bad happens to someone I can see, I reach out. I send them it. All because Clive Wood. And he said, do that. And you know your friends are then, don't you?
Well, it's really interesting. So, without getting too depressing, my father's about to go to palliative care. So, his end of life. But it's really interesting who's reached out to me and who hasn't reached out to me.
Right.
And it's the same thing. See, people don't like you to be too successful because it puts them into shame. So they kind of want to see you fall a bit.
Well, but you've got to manage that on 2 levels, haven't you? You've got self-regulation to manage it. And how do you maintain a relationship? How can you confront that?
So you have a choice. You either clear with somebody or you understand that there's what's called a giver and a taker.
Yeah.
So people who give people things but want something back in response, that's called taking. But, you know, you and I are doing this just to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And if something comes of it, that's great. That's called giving.
Yeah.
But if I'm only prepared to come here to the middle of nowhere, which I don't even know where we are, but we're in the middle of London somewhere, but I expect 8 things and I want to coverage and I want to see this before it goes out, now I'm taking something from it.
Yeah.
And when you give unconditionally in your relationship, in partnerships, in business, life is different.
So I asked you, what would you have done differently? Now, one of your books, you know, when you were 27 and that company that you were floating, one of your books is You Had Me at Hello. Another book is We're Off to the Zoo. Another book is The Impact Code. And another book is 10 Heads Are Better Than One.
Very good memory.
Yeah, so specifically, you know, the communication piece, it's hilarious. I've seen you do this, you know, we're off to the zoo type conversation. Would you have communicated differently with that partner back then? Because have you learned this since that?
Okay, so that's really interesting you said that. So I had a silent partner who put in £12.80. Kenneth was a hero of mine. I never saw him. I mean, he lived round the corner, but he did very well. But he trusted me. So the one thing I learned was that if you trust your partner, you trust your wife. I'm trusting the sound team. I trust you. It's going to be a phenomenal show.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now I give 100%. If you trust. So I had the trust with my partner. The difference was that when I got involved with my investors, I would have spoken to them in a very different way. I didn't understand that some of them were what I call elephants. And elephants are the accountants, the lawyers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers. And they need information that is so precise that I was never that. I'm a classic monkey. So I'm carefree, I'm lively, I'm persuasive, I'm demonstrative. I don't know what I'm doing, but I have a lot of fun doing it. So just visualise, in a zoo, a monkey and an elephant sharing a cage. it's pandemonium. But I didn't understand that. So when I'd asked my accountant, in-house accountant, who I was paying an absolute fortune for, on a Friday, how are we doing? And his response would be, what do you mean? Well, how are we doing? Well, I don't understand the question. And I met him about 6 or 7 years ago, and I apologised to Nick about the way I used to speak to him, because it didn't make sense. You see, you can't ask certain people open-ended questions unless they've got the question in advance. See, you and I are doing a podcast, and at no point did you say to me, well, should we look at some of the questions? What do you want me to ask you? Because you know my style, it would never work. But there'll be some people, if you do a podcast, I'll send you a list of questions I'd like you to ask. Here's some things I'd like you to recommend. Because elephants need structure, they need documentation, they need to do research, they need analysis. I didn't know that stuff, so I just thought he was being obstreperous, and he was what I call a psychic vampire. He just drained energy from me. At every meeting, he would ask questions.
He just knew what to ask to drain
your energy. Yeah, but worse, 90% of questions that people actually ask you are statements in disguise. I'll repeat that for you. 90% of the questions that people ask are really statements. So he'd ask me a
kind
question,
of leading question,
and he knew the answer, but he was putting me in a really embarrassing position. And I had a board, and I was the only working shareholder of my board. So visualise coming into a workplace where I'm the only person who works.
What impact did that have on you emotionally?
Major issues with my wife. Very tired, very angry. Took it out on my wife. And found it really hard to communicate because I didn't trust anybody.
Was that one of the worst parts of your life?
Yes, because I made the mistake of buying my partner out when I needn't have. I was on a phenomenal salary, doing whatever I wanted with no one questioning me. But ego got in the way. And I thought if we went public, I'd get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 million. And worse was I wouldn't even have got any cash. I'd have had even more shares, which I wouldn't be able to sell for 3 years. So if you know much about having a business like that, say you go public, the CEO's not allowed to sell his shares. So I would have had shares, and I'd have had the public in control of me, as well as my shareholders. But at 26, so this was 1988, I was 26, going on 27. So here's a funny story. So I'm in the Bar and Athelson's offices, my lawyers, with Ernst & Young. There's the receiver accountants, there's the lawyers, and it's my birthday. And there are 58 people in this room. They bring in a cake, they sing happy birthday, and all I'm thinking is I'm paying for these 57 people to sing me happy birthday, and there's not one of them I'd want at my birthday party. So the mistake that I made was not having a coach, not asking the right questions, thinking I knew the answers, because look at this pot of money. And when you become money orientated, you lose sight of what your goals are. It's like shooting. Have you ever gone bowling?
Yeah.
If there were no pins at the end, how bored would you be after a while?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like when you strike for gold. When you're just striking for money, because it doesn't matter how much money you get, it's never enough. So just as an aside, are you aware that?
Good analogy. That.
Well, just think about this. You employ staff, don't you?
Yeah.
Every time you give them a pay rise, within 6 weeks, they're pissed. So imagine you've got 100 staff.
Hertzberg proved it, didn't he? He says money is a satisficer.
Yeah, but it's worse than that, because we think we've done a great job, and within 6 weeks they're going, what's next? So I often share this, that the only reason why people come to work is for one reason only. Do you know what the answer is?
I'm thinking of loads, but you're thinking of one.
Yep. So the only reason why people come to work is to get their personal needs met.
Right.
The question is, do you know the top 5 personal needs of your team? So ask me what a couple of my personal needs are.
What are your personal needs?
Cadbury's milk chocolate, Diet Coke, a car parking space near where I'm speaking. I don't have to send too much information, and I'm going to speak for 42 minutes. If I get my personal needs met, I'm a very happy boy. I just won a very big award. It doesn't matter what it was. They gave me a bottle of champagne. And on stage, I said to the organisers and an audience, you've missed the point. You know I don't drink. This is the second time I've been awarded Speaker of the Year. This is after 25 years, and I've got a bottle of champagne. I'd have been happy with 4 cans of Diet Coke with my name on it.
Or a dairy milk.
No, that was a given. but it's not
And
even,
a dairy milk.
But it's not even about the chocolate. It's about being listened to, loved,
Yeah.
nurtured, cared for, supported.
42 minutes. Tell us about the 42 minutes.
Okay, so do you run many meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Do you run meetings in the morning or the afternoon?
I aim for the mornings.
Okay. So think about this. Somebody comes into work, and when they've had traffic issues or family issues, whatever, and they want to get on with their work, but there's this meeting. Forget Teams and Zoom and all that stuff. What do you think the first bit of the meeting normally happens? The first part of a meeting?
Oh, sorry, I'm late. I've been caught in traffic.
And then the next thing?
Oh, you don't need to worry about being late. We're here now.
Yeah, but then we've got the agenda.
Yeah.
And then we've got apologies to all those who aren't here.
Yeah.
And then we have minutes of the previous meeting. So far, not one thing
Sounds
is
very
new.
formal.
Yeah, but not one thing so far is telling me what's going to happen in the future. I start meetings with, tell me one exciting thing that's happened during the last month. And everyone goes around the room. Within 1 minute, I've got 30 answers, and the energy's changed. And I never finish with AOB.
Yeah, any other
It
business.
should be AIB, any interesting business. And I never finish with questions. Because the last question normally is, there's a problem with the toilet on the third floor. I did mention it to somebody. And the whole energy's gone down. So I want to create something when I speak or I run meetings, because I'm an NED. How do I create energy for people that's going to allow them to leave the meeting with some action? But I might send them information in advance, and it's their job to read it.
Yeah.
Elephants need information. So they might want financials, they might want plans, whatever. Most of the audience don't need it.
So there's two other animals here, isn't there? So you've got this board. It's not an elephant that you're just keeping happy. What else? Who else are you keeping happy?
Well, there's 4 animals. The main 4 animals in any zoo are the monkeys, who are the creative marketing people, salespeople, estate agents, marketing. Then you've got the lions, who are normally running divisions.
Right.
And they are dynamic, straightforward, purposeful. They know where they're going. They're on a mission to change the world. And then you've got the dolphins, who are normally HR, support services, who want to make sure it's a warm, fuzzy feeling. So you're number 2, who outside looked after me, made sure I had a car parking space, made sure I had tea and with milk and a glass of water. And she looked after me really nicely. Classic dolphin. The tragedy is you've got all these animals, and there's one person who's the host, who's asking questions in their style and not the style of the animals. So the game for any meeting is someone has to become a zookeeper. And the zookeeper's role is to feed the animals the food they want to hear.
Yeah.
So you've got to make some questions animative, not too detailed, then I've got a chance of answering. If I was a lion, I was a classic, one of the dragons, someone like Peter Jones, who you probably know. Peter Jones just wants bottom line information, or Deborah Meaden. I don't want to know about fluff. Just tell me, is it environmentally friendly, yes or no? And you watch people on there talking around the circles, and someone like Deborah will have said, have you sourced it? Where's it come from? She doesn't want to know the backstory. Well, when I was 7, I liked it. Yeah, but where's it sourced? That's classic lion language. They just want to know the answer. Yeah. Then you've got someone like Tuka, or one of the elephants, who wants to know background numbers. Stephen Bartlett always wants to know numbers on follows. And where's it come from and how many numbers? So when you watch the 5 of them on there, they're all different animals. But the poor person up there has been trained by a coach who's forgotten that 5 different people need 5 different information. Deborah's classic environmental.
Yep.
Peter Jones, where's the exit? Tuka, how can I get into retail? Stephen Bartlett, are there followers? And then you've got the lass from Newcastle, Sarah Davis. Yeah. Well, I love the idea, but I'm not investing because it doesn't fit into her family ethics. So you've got all those type of personalities, and think about how long most animals can listen and be entertained. And statistically, we've done lots of research.
Yeah.
And you just had a great speaker before me, which I'm sure you all talk about, who will tell you psychologically, mentally, you can only be focused for about 40 minutes. So I tell anyone I'm speaking to, I'll do 42 minutes, but if you want me to do longer, there'll be an 18-minute break, and then we'll come back in. I can do most day conferences in half a day. You come in at 8:45. They've had breakfast. I don't need to feed them again. And we'll have our first break at 9:30. Then we'll do a bit of networking. People want to talk to their friends.
Yeah.
They haven't seen people. So they lose sight. But do you know what happens in most conferences? Do you know how most people spend their breaks? Standing in line behind someone's back, waiting for coffee. Because we think they need to be served. So when I do conferences and I organise conferences, I make sure there's 100 food stations all around the room. People can get coffee when they want. And if people need to go to the toilet, they can go when they want. You and I are grown up. I'm not waiting for a break to have a pee. If I need to pee,
Interesting.
I need to pee.
Go and get it when you want it.
But it's about being in the room. Because the minute I need to pee, have a guess where my mind goes. I've left this interview and I'm thinking, how many more questions has he got here?
Got it.
I'm looking at your notepad. There's 700 more questions.
So, we've got appreciating all of the different animals, and you've got to communicate in their language. What happens when we get two monkeys?
Okay, that's really interesting. So when you have two monkeys, one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure one of them is being heard and one of them is being given a chance to have some fun. Because otherwise it's a party. And a lot gets shared, but nothing gets done because no one has an action point.
What happens when you get two dolphins?
Okay, so it's a lovely meeting. It's a very lovely meeting. And a lot gets shared about everything but the business.
What happens with two lions?
So that's classic. One of them has to win. If you think about two male lions or even two female lions, somebody's got to win. So the idea of getting harmony from two lions in a meeting, they need to be supervised by a dolphin. So a lot of the times when...
Right.
So, you've employed people, and very often we employ people like us. So I made sure that my PA was an elephant. Ironically, my wife is an elephant. I wanted to surround myself with people who weren't like me. Because the last thing I need is more people like me. And ironically, my PA has just left, and my daughter's just joined me, and she's a bit of a monkey. We're going to have to be really careful, because between the two of us... we're forgetting diary dates, and all of a sudden we're losing a bit of structure. Now, my wife is a classic elephant, and she's a therapist, so she has a memory that's unbelievable, and she never lets anything go.
How do you deal with that emotionally?
That I need to understand her personal needs. So, I got a phone call from her just before we came in here. So, what time will you be home? Because we need to be We need to be babysitting. It's like an interview. We need to be babysitting our grandson. I have to add an hour by saying I think I'll be home by about 5:30, because if I said I'll be home by 4:30, which is I reckon I could, and I'm a minute after that, I've lied, I've disappointed her, I've not been truthful, I didn't ring her in advance.
My hands are up. I do exactly the same.
Yeah, but so what we have to do is with elephants, if they have trust issues before you start. All elephants have trust issues because they're constantly let down.
What happens if you get two elephants?
So one of the questions that has to be asked is, whose information are we listening to, and where's the information come from? So you have to send information in advance to the meeting so they come prepared.
Right.
Elephants, you'll see, elephants get what I call stammer communication. I don't know the answer to this. No one asked me. They're so nervous about not being prepared. So when I work with an elephant, if you were an elephant, I know you'd have asked me the questions in advance.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact timing, how long I've got. So I knew it wasn't going to be that type of meeting. But I have enough interviews where after you finish doing your speech on stage, what we'd like to do is 12 minutes. If we can do a quick piece to camera. I said, don't ask me questions. So I'm known as One Take Nige because the minute I have to think about it, but it confuses the people because they don't trust themselves.
Right, so here's the take home. Is it become a zookeeper or hire a zookeeper? What is it?
Okay, so that's really interesting. I love that question. You have to learn that there are different animals you are talking to.
Yeah.
So you've done podcasts for how long?
On this podcast, 6 months.
Okay. So you would have had different types of animals here, and at least 10% of them would have been a bit pissed with the way you've done this interview.
There you go.
So that's just going to be the case because you can't be everything to everyone. So if you look at a grid, have you ever played squash, by the way?
Yeah.
Where does the winning person normally end up playing if they want to win the point?
In the middle.
The centre tee.
Yeah, on the tee.
So if you looked at the animals, you've got lions in a corner, you've got elephants in a corner, monkeys and dolphins. One of us, if we want to be brilliant in communication, has got to get to the middle. Great coaches get to the middle by listening. Now, I can't be an elephant, but I can get much closer.
It's a great analogy again,
So using squash as the answer, of course you want to go down the lines, which is where the elephants and lions might be. But if you get to the middle really quickly, get in front of the player, you control the communication. You control the game. I know you're going to find this hard to me. I'm an ex-professional tennis player. I coached, played, I umpired, looked after the Israel junior tennis team. If I had have known now what I knew then, my coaching skills would have been amazing, because I would know that every other kid that I was coaching needed to be taught differently. But most coaches, I had sometimes 20 kids on a court. I didn't have time to think about all the different languages, and I was speaking in a second language. So now I'm speaking in a foreign language, and I'm trying to think about the animals. When we're training staff, we need to remember there are different animals in our camp. So the monkeys need to have some fun. The elephants need some information in advance. The lions don't want social chit-chat, and the dolphins want to make sure there's penguin biscuits in their homemade.
And they've got to be penguin biscuits. All right, we talked about the Zookeeper, but then you've got another book, You Had Me at Hello. I think Zookeeper was 2002, Had Me at Hello 2003.
You know better than me, because that's a monkey. I have no idea, but it sounds about
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
See, if I was an elephant, I know exactly
Yeah, of
who
course you
printed
would.
when
Well,
I
it's my
printed.
job to do a bit of research. What's the premise of You Had Me at Hello? Because this is a tiny little book like this that you consume, and it makes you change.
So if you think about the old days of networking or LinkedIn today, so we're going to go one to the extreme.
Yeah.
So you and I would go to a networking event, and there'd be 300 people in the room. By the time you've said hello, and if you remember the film, and it will come to me in a minute, where he uses my line.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, yep. I said it before what they did, by the way, but that's a separate
Jerry
issue.
fucking Maguire.
Show me the money. But if you go to a networking event and you introduce yourself, within 7 seconds, people are making judgments about you. Whether it's appearance,
Yeah.
opening line, your business card, and you'd hand over your business card. And most people's business cards in the old days said nothing. It just told you about the qualifications. Well, I don't know what I mean, unless you're in that profession.
Yeah.
So we used to say to people, you had me at hello. And that great line from Renée Zellweger, so Tom Cruise has that massive speech, and she just stops there and goes, you had me at hello. So we have to think that when we're meeting people, and now on LinkedIn or on Zoom, you must have had a few LinkedIn requests. And within 5 seconds, what do people do after you've accepted they start writing to you, trying to sell you stuff. They've lost sight that you've connected with them. You need to build trust in a relationship. But the problem is we don't have the same... What's the word I'm looking for? We try and connect with people based on people we like.
Yeah.
So you need to be personable. You need to communicate. And you need to learn to be interested in other people more than interesting. I'll repeat that. You need to be interested in other people more than interesting.
Yep.
But too many people go, let me just tell you about me. I was a phenomenal speaker, and I did all this. You remember the old thing, what's in it for me? What I can
Is that an old thing, or that's still current now? Come
Yes,
on.
but what I'm saying is, but in the old days, it used to be WIIFM.
Yeah, WIIFM.
And you used to tell people all the time, why should people do business with you? The problem is so many people got so into talking about themselves. So I never tell people about my awards. And all I say to people is, my job is to inspire and empower people in the organisations to live their life to the fullest. That's my mission statement. And everything that I do is about inspiring and empowering people. Too many people spend so long. So I love when someone introduces me on stage, so I haven't got to do any of that. So I just start talking. So I get people to read my bio from my book, because at least they know the bio's right.
Yeah.
I don't want people making stuff up. I want people to understand the guy who's coming on stage, or when I go to a networking event, I haven't done many for a long time, but in the old days, BNI or breakfast meetings or chambers of commerce, IOD, you go to these type of meetings and there'd be 100 people there and you have to introduce yourself. The game used to be, pretend you're the host of the party, not a guest of the party. Because if you were a host, what would you do?
Make everybody feel welcome.
Yep. But if you were a guest, you're waiting for people to come up to you.
Yeah.
So I'd be there quite early, and I'd look at the guest list.
Good point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretend you're the host of the party.
Yeah.
When you assume that identity, automatically you're a better communicator, yeah?
But also I'd look at the guest list in advance. I'd ask for one. This was before data and GDPR, whatever the thing is. And I'd want to see who's coming. And I might write to some of them in advance, say, I know you're coming to this meeting. It'd be great if we can get 5 minutes. Now I've made someone less nervous. They're not going to be there on their own. Because you often would see the elephants hanging onto the wall. The monkeys be right in the middle. They don't follow through, by the way. And if you think about networking, it's similar to golf. You ever play golf?
Yeah.
Most important shot in golf is?
Putting.
Okay, well, I was going to say you follow through.
Okay.
So even in putting, so you hit the ball, but it's your follow through.
Yeah.
And most people in networking events never followed up. So they'd make that great contact
And then
and never follow up. So I made sure in networking I would do some talks and say, are you the guest or a host? Are you prepared to follow up? After every person you meet, make sure you got something you can write on the back of, so you can make sure you got an idea what their key skill is.
yeah, it's a good tip.
So connecting with people you had me at home was one of my things. Being a zookeeper was something else. But the book you've got in front of you was what was a game changer for me.
This one is the impact code. Why was this live the life that you deserve? Why was this the game changer?
Because that was my whole story.
Chapter 1, in the room.
Yep.
Chapter 2, model from the best. Chapter 3, passion and purpose. Chapter 4, action. Chapter 5, comic relief.
Or communication.
Okay. Chapter 6, trust. Chapter 7, what's next?
Well, and here's the whole point, that if you got the basic concept of creating impact. So I'm in the room with you right now, and
Yeah.
the only person I love in the whole wide world is in this room.
Likewise.
Okay? And I've got the most wonderful wife, 2 great kids, a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law, 3 phenomenal grandchildren, but they're not here. And too often we're focusing on the wrong stuff when we're in a room like this. And then when we get home, you know what we're focusing on? What I should have said here.
The wrong stuff.
Still the wrong stuff.
Be present.
Be in the room. If you think about modelling, though, that there are some phenomenal businesses out there. The problem is what we often do is we look at our competitors and just do a bit better than they're doing. They may not be doing it that well. Find out the best people in the world and what they do. So, if it's technology, whether you like Uber or not, their technology, or Amazon, their technology in making things simple is easy. When you buy something or someone tries to buy from you, is it easier to buy from Amazon or from you?
Yeah, Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dong.
Yep. And you just go, well, I'll go on Amazon. You've got to now think, how do we create that in our business mind that when someone rings Nigel Risner, and is it going to be easy to work with? So this is my basic line. When someone books me as a speaker, I need to know if the date's free. Once the date's free, then life's really easy. Will there be a car parking space? Will I get chocolate? Will I get Diet Coke? Happy days. And I have a philosophy that's slightly weird called fit, fee or flee. If the fit's right, and it's a bit like this podcast, or it's 300 HR managers, or it's leadership, or it's a special charity, the fee's immaterial if the fit's right. If the fit's not right, and it's not a business I know much about, then the fee better be right. But if the fit's not right, the fee's not right, then you've got to learn to flee.
Yeah.
And too often we don't say no quick enough. We hold
Fit.
on, fee or flee.
But you want to get the fit and the fee.
If you can. But sometimes, have you ever spoken what I call as a showcase? Ever?
Yeah.
So you didn't get the fee, and you're worth X,
Yeah.
but the fit was right, because it was a phenomenal,
Yeah.
or you wanted to speak. So the fit was right.
You're right.
Sometimes the fit's definitely not right, but they pay a lot of money. And I've had it a few times in my life where I've been paid an obscene amount of money. And I've got still a high-maintenance wife and 2 kids with credit cards of mine. So sometimes money's important. And the best thing you can do for the poor, by the way, is not be one of them.
Yep.
So there are times when money has a place. But if the money's not right and the fit's not right, you've got to flee. And too often, you know people who are holding on to a client, they're not willing to let it go. They're pushing and pushing.
It's nice.
And it's never going to happen.
Look, it's usable. The biggest thing that I got from what you said all of there, the secret ingredient of creating impact, here it is in 4 words: be in the room.
Yep.
And you can create impact in your life. That's usable for literally everybody.
And I'll
listening
tell
right
you
now.
50% of the staff spend 50% of their time not in the room.
Well, yeah, they do. I'm coming back to what something that you said right at the start. You said about winging it. And the opposite of winging it is being prepared. Is that right?
Yep.
How do you prepare for your talks?
So I have a standard signature 42-minute speech,
Right.
which I know works because I've spoken to more than 3 million people and 95% think it's all right. Doesn't matter what you do, 5% think you're shit. Pardon my language.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what you do, as great
Did you have to learn that
Yeah.
the hard way?
Yeah, because you know, And you will have done this in the past. Do you remember the feedback forms?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what did you look for first?
Yeah, the ratings and
Yeah,
the good stuff.
Yeah, but if you had 2 people out of 100 that said, didn't really resonate with me, your whole day was ruined, and you'd go home and you'd be looking at those 2. I've now made a decision that the bottom 5 and the top 5 don't count. I mean, I've had people who want to marry me at the end of my speech, and believe me, I'm not that good.
Yeah.
And I've had people who want to kill me, and I don't think I was that bad either. I mean, do you remember Gerald Ratner's speech?
No.
Do you know who Gerald Ratner is?
Go on.
Okay, Ratner's Jewellers.
Okay, yeah.
So he did a speech at the IOD, and he said, some of my jewellery won't last as long as a prawn sandwich at a football match. Okay? He was voted the second most vile man in the world. He was above Hitler.
Because of that?
That statement, okay? He was making a joke about his jewellery. But, I mean, his business collapsed. But the comments that people made was so bizarre. So I know there's a group of people, and there'll be people who listen to this podcast who go, why would James have wasted his time and money with Nigel? And there'll be other people who go, one of the best we've ever heard. Both, by the way, those 2 people are wrong.
Well, that middle 90%.
Yep. That's what I'm looking for. As it happens, I'd like it to be 94%. But I'm okay with that. But that's about ego and emotion again. When you let go that not the whole world loves you. So there are some people who don't like anyone who wears a blue blazer jacket, and they think they're just really weird people. Well, if that's the case, there's no chance of success. Leo Buscaglia, one of the greatest motivational speakers ever, he said, you can be the most delectable peach in the world and be the juiciest and freshest, but if you don't like a peach, it doesn't help.
Absolutely.
And so at that level, for me, that reckoning that you do this great speech and 2 people don't like it and 2 people think it's brilliant, they're both not right. So I had to learn to accept, and I give you a new word here, feed forward, not feedback.
Yeah.
I hate the word
I originally heard that from Marshall Goldsmith.
Okay.
I don't know whether he invented it or you invented it.
One of us, but the idea that the minute someone says, I've got feedback for you, very few people go, I'm looking forward to this. Inside we die a bit. Whereas if you said to me at the end of the podcast, I've got some feed forward for you, so when we do another one, because I'm that type of speaker, when we do another podcast, what you might want to consider is, if it's coming from love, trust, compassion, energy, I'm up for learning. But when you say feedback, don't tap the table so much.
Do you know what? We should do another podcast on humour. Because I've seen you present for 42 minutes. And I was engaged from start to finish.
But do you remember how I started? The very first thing I did was ask a question.
Go on, what was the question?
I'll tell you in a second. At the very end was a self-deprecating joke. So the question I asked was, just by a show of hands, how many people in the room want at least 5% more success in some area in their life? And 98% of people put their hands up. Now, there's 2 reasons for that. One is I'm asking a question that I know is a guaranteed yes. And the other is I remember the question.
Yeah, it's a guaranteed to remember.
Whereas there are times where you and I will go on stage and we'll go, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me, Jonathan, and it's great to be in Estepona. I can't remember where I am. And it's not because I'm such a global speaker, but you don't need to tell them what time of day it is. They can read the time. They know your name because there's a big sign behind you. They know who you are because you've been introduced. Get on with it. And you've only got 42 minutes. And what I'm going to share over the next half an hour, no comedian ever says this. I'm going to tell you a joke in a minute. Let me tell you what the joke is. Then they tell you the joke. Then they do the thing that every trainer says you should do, is remind them what the joke was. This came out, I'm sure, in 1837 from somebody. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Yeah. I understand the concept.
Guilty. I've been guilty of doing some of that historically.
Now, we all have, but most comedians do their second best joke first, and they leave on their best joke last.
Yeah, that's a good point. You told me that at the bar before you went on.
And there's a reason for that you want to get them drawn in, share some stuff. So I get them in the room in the beginning, and I finish with trust, and I've either got a video or a self-deprecating joke. And I always do that, so they know I'm human.
What would you say to someone who says, never self-deprecate?
Well, the problem is, if you never self-deprecate, you're making out that you're perfect. And I've yet to meet a perfect speaker or a perfect
True.
person in a perfect life. And I've said, I've been married 39 years, I've got some great kids, I've got some phenomenal grandkids, and I drive a nice car and live in a nice house. But there are aspects of my life that don't work. So my wife thinks do you know what I'll be doing when I get home tonight? I just want to let you know something very serious, what I'll be doing when I get home. I want you to really visualise, successful entrepreneur, what I'm going to be doing when I get home.
Walking the dog.
No, that would be lovely if I was doing that. I'm going to be taking the bins in. The bin men came this morning. My job is to take the bins in.
Yeah.
Someone's got to do it. That's my job on a Tuesday night. Everyone has a leveller.
I do it on Tuesday morning.
There you go.
There you go. Something we have in common.
There you go.
I get back from a walk at about 7:30 a.m. and they've already picked it up and I'm putting it away.
But do you know how many people don't do that and then wonder why their lives don't work? Because what you've done is you've let down the family. That was your job. Just do it. I'm above that. I have other people that do my bins for me. No, that's what human beings do. And Wayne Dyer said, we're human beings, not human doings.
Yeah.
And our beingness is what comes through.
Pretty incredible person. I mean, have you consumed Wayne Dyer stuff?
I'm going to say yes.
He's got a lot of stuff, hasn't he? I know.
I mean, I've read some of his stuff, the same as Deepak, and there's loads of great people. The game is when you look at any of these speakers. So I was very lucky. I was trained by Jack Canfield.
Right.
Jack Canfield, who wrote The Chicken Soup for the Cell Books. And Jack's feedback to me was, he asked me to do a speech one evening, and my opening line was, I don't care if you like me or not. And Jack went, no, you can't ever say that, because you do care. You just don't care about the people who don't like. So you take a snippet from every book you've ever read, and you've probably read more than 100 books.
Yeah.
But if you took one line from those 100 books, you'd have 100 nuggets of information. The problem is what we try to do is consume all of the book, and you can't remember it. So I'm sure you've read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I often ask an audience, how many people have got that book?
Yep.
95%. How many people have gone past the old woman and the young woman of the image?
Yeah, well, do you know what is better than his book? His 75-minute audio of it. I've listened to that probably.
Do you know why you've
50
listened
times.
to it? Because as a monkey, that book is too long.
Yeah.
So people like you and I, it's like, if there was a condensed version of the 7 Habits, would be cool. So his audio version, even with his southern drawl, is cool. I did a conference with him on a boat.
Amazing man, though.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. 7 Habits.
I mean, but his 8th habit wasn't that great, but it was about trust. But someone asked him to
Find
write
your
another
voice.
one. Yeah. And then his son got involved. But
It's a good concept, that, though. Unique personal significance, the 8th habit.
But his 7 was key.
It was genius, wasn't it? Be
Yeah.
proactive, first things first, begin with the end in mind.
Sharpen the saw.
That's number 7, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, but if you think about it, if you just took one of those, and then you went to Deepak and synchronicity, took that one word, then you went to Jack Canfield. So one of the Jack's best books, which very few people have ever read, is The Aladdin Factor.
I've not read it.
It's all about asking for what you want, and we're not good at asking. Because what we're scared of?
So people saying no, rejection.
And rejection's the biggest thing that gets in the way. So his book is all about asking. It's the greatest book I think he's ever written.
Yeah, well, there's something else in that point. You've got to know exactly what you want. You know, then you've got to ask.
But what happens is, do you know how many times you ever ask, and then you stop asking if they say no the first time? So we used to do an exercise called a mingling exercise where we'd have 100 people in the room, and you'd go up to everyone in the room asking for things. And you had to say no to the first 9 people that came up to you. Didn't matter what they asked you. But whoever came up to you the 10th time, you'd say yes. Very few people asked the same person twice what they wanted.
Right.
And most people, after they've been rejected 3 or 4 times, virtually stopped doing the exercise. See, rejection's great because you're getting closer to your yes.
Yeah.
And you know statistically, without boring anybody,
Yeah, of course.
that if you know your numbers, 1 in 3 buy or 1 in 4 buy. So if you earn £100 on a sale and 1 in 4 buy, you're earning £25 for every no. So when you say thank you to someone, so somebody rang me up recently and I said, thank you so much indeed for £2,100. They went, what do you mean? I said, well, thank you so much. I said, my average fee is £6,000. You said no, but that's I divide all my calls.
Yeah.
So I earn £2,100 a phone call. Do you know how many phone calls I make in a week?
Depends how much you want.
Well, that's my point. But if I was waiting for the yes all the time, I'd be dejected. I'd never probably make the third or fourth phone call. So what every person who's listening to the podcast needs to work out is, what's their hit rate? If it's 1 in 10, everybody you thank for 10%. So if you earn £100 a deal.
Do you know what? There's a second thing in there. When you thank someone, you're leaving on a positive as well.
But they're not saying no to you personally. They're saying no to that concept. But what we hear is rejection. I'm not enough.
Yes.
And when you learn that you are enough, but you've just got to be openly accepting.
Well, look, it's not exactly what you meant. Some of the great philanthropists and researchers, they attribute a lot of success down to gratitude. Yeah, gratitude attracts success in some way. When you say thank you, it's showing gratitude.
So the attitude of gratitude is about acknowledging how cool life is and everything's an opportunity. So remember that slide I put up, if you remember, opportunity is nowhere,
yeah,
or it is opportunity is now here.
Yeah.
For most people, they can't see that this is an opportunity. So, why did I write books? Why do I do podcasts? Why do I do certain charity events? Because it's a showcase for me. It puts me out there, and I never know who's listening or who's reading. But most people want instant gratification, and they want instant, what I call nowness. The world we live in, because of Amazon, means if you want something and you live in a certain area,
because of Amazon,
you can have anything in an hour.
Yeah, you can.
You can virtually have anything within an hour.
They've got Amazon same day, haven't they? Or Amazon morning.
In certain parts of London, you can have it within an hour. Just think about that. Whatever you want, you can have it in an hour. So there's no saving for something.
What was that movie called? When they sent the carrier pigeons out to deliver things. I mean, at some point, there's going to be...
Or drones. You've got drones already delivering.
In which country?
In the States already, there's drones delivering stuff.
There you go. I didn't know that yet.
But what I'm saying to you is that sometimes it's not going to come today. So the question is, you need to have a dream, share your vision, and then play with whoever shows up.
That's a trio mantra there, isn't it?
But you've got to have a dream.
Have a dream, share your vision.
Share your vision, and then play with whoever shows up. So it's no use me playing with someone who's not in this room. There's just you and me.
Yeah.
So I need to play with you. But too often, I'll see if there's someone better tomorrow. So I won't give you all my best stuff, just in case there's someone better tomorrow. But you're the only one here. And too often, when people do sales meetings, they don't give them the final bit.
Give them your best stuff.
Every time I speak, people are always surprised I share what I say, my best speech.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, look, I'll only give you a bit of it, and then if I'm any good, you'll bring me back. So I used to joke with people that I have 3 speeches. Are you ready for this? A Chinese, Indian, and a Nigerian speech. Have you ever had Chinese food?
Yeah.
After about an hour, what happens?
You get hungry again.
Yeah, you want some more. So that's your classic inspirational speech. You do it, but in an hour, they'll have forgotten. It's like going to a comedian.
Right.
It's very funny, but you've forgotten. Have you had Indian food?
Yeah.
About a week later or 2 weeks later, what happens?
You're still bloated. But...
Or you order another one.
Yeah,
That's why Indian food's so popular.
Yeah.
Have you had Nigerian food?
No.
Okay, so I've been to Nigeria 3 times. It's still in my system. Now, you won't be able to do that type of speech unless you're trusted.
Right.
So sometimes you've got to do a Chinese speech, show your best. So it's a bit like, do you remember Michael McIntyre's showcase on a Friday night?
Yeah, yeah.
Comedians would do 8 minutes.
That's a tough gig, isn't it?
Yeah, but those 8 minutes give people a showcase to 3 million to 6 million people. They then get their own shows, like a Rob Beckett. I mean, all those people were on like Michael McIntyre's roadshow. Then you do the next stage, which is we do a half-a-day workshop. What you really want to do is do what I call partnerships with clients. So I have one last formula for you. Have we got time for this?
Yeah.
TRP, write that down. TRP. So today, this is a transaction. I'm doing a podcast with you. Would you agree?
Yeah.
That's a transaction. What I hope we do is we build some sort of relationship up. And you've already said I need to come back and do the humour part. So now we've got a partnership going.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've got a relationship going.
Got it. Transact, relationship,
But
partnership.
what I really want is to be in partnership with you. So when I work with my clients, I have 8 or 9 clients who have Nigel days. They book me every single year. I have a fob, so I can go straight into their office. I don't have to sit in reception. Hello, my name is Nigel. I'm waiting for James. I could have spoken to your sound people, some of the other team here. I could have done some training while I was waiting. So when I have Nigel days, that's because I'm a partner with them. I've got a car parking space. Have a guess what's in the fridge when I get there.
Chocolate and
Diet
Coke.
Yeah. So they're already there. But you've got to do some one-off transactions to be trusted. You then want to build a relationship up. And people always talk about relationships. You don't want relationships, you want trusted partners.
Yeah, you do.
So if you think about the business you run, your best people that you work with are trusted partners. You've got loads of relationships with some of your coaches, and you've got some where you do a one-off speech, you never hear from them again. But your trusted partners is where the money is.
I love it. TRP. I mean, I quite like a lot of the things that you've shared. So I've shared 4 of your books here. Which books have you read that have changed you?
So I said The Aladdin Factor by Jack Canfield.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Brené Brown.
Which bit? Which one?
And because I've got no
Dare to Lead.
Dare to Lead is one, but she's written a book with a red cover, and it will come to me in a minute. It's a big red book, and some of her TED Talks are just phenomenal. And because she shares vulnerability, which is a massive strength, by the way, it's not a weakness, I love her even more. I paid to hear her speak. One of the few people in my life I've ever paid money to go and hear someone speak.
I like a number of things that she said, but she has said this really powerfully. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort.
Yep.
And when you digest that, you have to think about that. It's not an easy one to process. Integrity is choosing courage over comfort. That's being true to yourself. That's doing what you say you're going to do.
So
that requires courage.
When I say to people, I'm going to teach you to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and before you leave here, I'd like you to do one thing you've been uncomfortable doing, regardless of what other people think of you. Because who you are is phenomenal if only you be it openly.
Yeah, we're removing judgment, that, isn't it? The fear of judgment.
And 5% are going to judge you whatever you do.
Yeah.
So Brené Brown is one of my heroes. Jack Canfield I've worked with. He's stayed at my house. I love Jack's work because he's not a sales trainer. He's a self-esteem trainer. And this country has a problem with the word self-esteem. It's very interesting. If I told people I'm a self-esteem speaker, I wouldn't get booked. But everything I do is about self-esteem. Everything that you do is about self-esteem.
Yeah, feeling self-worth. Tony Robbins said something that you were talking about earlier on. Like, he said, if you can handle rejection, you will learn to get everything you want in life.
Okay, so there's a bit I agree 95% of it.
Go on.
The problem is when you go for that rejection idea, what you're really saying is, I'm up for anything. I don't mind if you reject me. I'm bulletproof. We get hurt. So we have a philosophy in our house that we're only allowed to be annoyed with each other for 9 minutes.
I've heard of a 7-minute rule, but it's a different concept. But you're allowed to be annoyed with each other for 9 minutes. Why 9?
Okay, well, you can choose whatever number you like. Yeah. But you see, we've been married 39 years. I've said to my wife, I'm going to give you another 21. I think 60 years is long enough. Then you get a telegram from the Queen or the King. But we've made it our intention in business, our intention in our relationship is to love each other, full stop. So if we're going to fight, obviously I've messed up. And as a monkey, I've probably not done what I said I was going to do. And I'm late and I'm not called or whatever. So she's allowed to be annoyed with me. But after 9 minutes, we're now fighting over more than just that concept. Other stuff's getting brought in.
How did your wife take the 9 minutes?
So there's I'll give you a backstory to this. So we are a big Friday night dinner. If you've seen Friday Night Dinners, the TV program, we do big Friday night dinners. It's like Christmas lunch, but every Friday night. We have loads of people for our dinners. My wife's an amazing cook on a Friday. Shite on a Thursday, by the way. But phenomenal on a Friday. So she's done the chicken soup. She's done roast chicken, done vegetables, done desserts, ice creams. And she's asked me to get plates out. And I bring the plates out, and everyone's got plates in front of them. And she's just about to serve, and there's no spoons on the table. And my wife loses it with me. And a friend of ours who's also a therapist whispered in my ear, "It's not about the spoons." Most fights we have, it's not about that.
No.
It's never about the spoons. So when I work with organisations, we ask people, what's your spoon incident? It's not about that. And in our house, the 9 minutes is for her to emote, to share, to shout, to say whatever she needs to do. And if we want to continue the argument, we both have to get naked. Now, I will tell you now, we are not two supermodels.
You're right.
But we've only ever done it once, because you need to understand, if you now take the energy away from that fight,
Yeah,
and we
you're
both
not arguing at that
undressing,
point, are you?
and, well, now there's things moving about, flopping about. It's not a pretty sight, well, not, especially in my case. But what I'm saying to you is that at some point in an argument, we've lost sight of what the purpose is. The purpose of our relationship is to love each other unconditionally, to have a great relationship, to build two great kids. We've got phenomenal grandchildren. In business, it's to create harmony, it's to create trust, it's to improve people's lives. Would you agree?
Yes.
But you're allowed to be annoyed. You know, if halfway through this podcast...
For 9 minutes.
No, but no, if halfway through this podcast we find that something doesn't work, you're allowed to be pissed. That's called emotion. But after 9 minutes, having a fight with a camera guy or with a sound technician or the car park, how's that going to change?
It's not.
That's past behaviour. We can learn from it. That's why I call it feed forward. But at some point, we've got to change behaviour. So in our house, we're allowed to be annoyed with each other for 9 minutes.
Okay, so the Aladdin factor, some of Brené Brown's stuff has changed you as a book. Is there a favourite book that you've got?
Okay, it's going to sound really weird, okay? It was called Shopping Wars, and it was how shopping changed over the ages. So you may or may not know that Sainsbury's and Tesco's changed the way we shop. And in Croydon, Tesco's or Sainsbury's, I'm having a memory thing here, was the first one to create aisles. And if you had aisles, you could have shopping carts. And if you had shopping carts, people bought more. Do you remember Coronation Street when Alf changed the corner shop?
I remember an Alf in it when I was...
Okay, well,
no, I don't. I'm thinking of something else.
Okay, well, he had like a corner shop, and then Dev took over,
Right.
and he made the aisle was bigger, and all of a sudden now, instead of having a shopping basket, you had a shopping trolley. But it's Shopping Wars is about the way the UK shops, and it's just resonates that how business has changed and how we need to change with the times. And so it's one of these books where people go, it's a bit of a weird book. I just like the idea that simplicity works. The easier you make it for your customers, the more they'll buy.
I mean, look, things are changing now. I mean, we've got to change with the times as well. There's a lot of AI revolution going on.
Okay, so ChatGPT and AI is one thing. But on my website, my phone number is on every page. Any idea why?
To make it easy for people to call you?
Yeah, and you know what? People go, they prefer to ring me than to do my contact form. But if you ever go onto most people's websites, you can't find who they are, where they're based.
Yeah.
And they make it really hard. What they want is to capture information.
True.
Just give me your phone number. We get more people who still book us by phone than we do by a contact form. And it takes me 5 seconds to agree or disagree. Because what do I need to know?
What's the date?
See, you remember. Because if I can't do the date, we're wasting our conversation. Fee or flee.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated. So the game is for everyone who's listening to this podcast, how easy are you to do business with? How easy are you to be loved? And what do you put in the way of doing people to do business with? So when your young lass said, can you make this date? I went, yes. It's my job to work out, can I park my car? My job to work out, is there going to be water? Yeah, I want to make it easy for you. Yes. And now here we are. But there'll be some people, the demands will be so weird that you think, how strange is that?
Who's the most successful person that you know in business?
Ooh. So I'm going to say something very weird here. My father was an optician.
Right.
Okay. And he said one line to me that changed my world. He said, I send reminders out when I'm busy. Then I'm always busy.
It's a good point, isn't it? I send reminders out when I'm busy. Then I'm always busy.
Yeah, because you see, when do we normally send reminders out? When do we start doing this? I just thought I'd give you a call to see how you are. I'm just passing when we haven't got much business. Then we come for what we call desperation and scarcity instead of abundance.
It's true. You know, when you're on form, go faster.
Yep.
Do more. Work harder type thing. When you're not.
So every time a client books me, I ring up one of my hardest clients for another booking. Because I don't need their approval. See, because I'm 61, I know I don't look it, but because I'm 61, I don't need everyone's approval the way I used to. Doesn't mean I don't care, but I don't need your permission to say I was a great guest. I've got a book, and this is going to sound a bit weird. I have a book of successes in my office, and I've got 11 volumes of successes. of my first company car, pictures of my children, pictures of my grandchildren, testimonials from some of the biggest companies in the world to a school and Feltham young offenders that tell me I'm enough without your approval. So I can walk in here, and today may not work. That doesn't mean my life doesn't work. And too many people allow this event control their emotions. Not every podcast you've ever done has been brilliant, would you agree?
Yeah.
But you're still running them.
Yep.
But if you'd done it the old way, if I have one failure, I'm stopping doing it. If I don't get a massive return on my investment, I'm stopping doing it. You won't win every single time. And Liverpool last week got beaten by Arsenal. So they can't win. I mean, very few clubs have ever gone the whole way through without losing. Arsenal did it once, but they drew a few. But it's very rare. So the best clubs in the world know they're going to lose one or two. Do you know much about American football?
I don't know a lot. But
Okay, do you know much about baseball?
I know bits on both.
Okay, well, the top baseball batsman, his record is something like .333. He only hits 1 in 3. He's won, and he's paid like 20, 30 million.
Yeah.
The number one. It's not possible to hit every ball. We think we should get every sale, we should get every girlfriend, every boyfriend, every relationship. If you get every single deal, your fees are too low.
True. It's irrefutable, that is.
I mean, if I said yes to every single person who asked me to speak, I could be doing 500 speeches a year. And by the way, I had a brain aneurysm from doing all that 5-6 years ago by saying yes to lots of stuff. So I had to learn to slow down. I had to learn to know what my value was.
Flee.
Yep. But I also had to learn to work out, I like my fees a bit. Then if they pay that, I can afford not to work X amount of days. But you get into this ego, I've got to be busy. Got to let everyone know in the world I'm so busy.
Got it. You mentioned earlier, right at the start, actually, on the ego thing, you said excellence, not ego.
I said excellence versus perfection.
Excellence versus perfection.
Yeah.
So, 5 words to describe personal excellence. What are the 5 words?
Integrity.
Yeah.
Trust. Fun. Health. Love.
Integrity, trust, fun, health, love. It's good words, isn't it?
And you can have whatever order you like, but I'm telling you now, without your health, you're going to struggle. Without fun, you're not going to last. And without trust, you're not going to be in partnership with people. So some people say integrity and trust are similar. But there's some stuff I won't do because it just doesn't fit into my integrity. But I want to be trusted. And I want to have lots of fun. And it's interesting because you said I was funny on stage. It took me a long time to let go and just be me. Because I thought I had to be a certain way. Because I modelled off other people. See, someone like Tony Robbins is out there pounding, doing 3-4 days, 6 in the morning till... That's just not me. Jack Canfield is one of the best storytellers in the world. That's not me. But I was with... It's going to hit me in a second. One of the days... Jack brought in a trainer and he did the arrow process. You've seen the arrow. So someone puts an arrow.
Yeah.
But this guy came on, Tim Perring, that's his guy's name. And he came on, so Jack had been doing this course for about 4 days. It was a facilitated skills seminar. And this guy, Tim Perring, came in with a briefcase, with a jacket, with, the brown leather patches. And he started talking about Sufi and about the arrow. And this guy was all over the place. And he gave me permission to be me. Because he didn't have any format at all. But I loved his style, that it was just all over the place. Because you and I are not Tony Robbins.
So you needed to see and experience that then?
Because I thought I needed to be like Jack or Tony or Deepak or
Wayne
or all these big hitters. Because that's the only experience we'd had.
Sometimes you do need to see something or hear something that someone says to you. And it just gives you that permission to.
But that's the key word. But Tim gave me permission not to be them.
To be you.
Yeah, and trust me, my style is weird, as you know. You've seen me on stage. I'm all over the place, and I'm in the audience, and I'm touching people.
But you know what? It's 42 minutes long. It is really prepared. It is really.
Well, it's polished because I've done it a few times. But there are times where I'll say something and I'll shock myself because of what the audience has said to me. And someone will go, when you said that, I go, did I? Because I'm just playing with the audience to make them the best version of them.
Look, there's been plenty of bits in this that's I would say that's my favourite bit. You know, I like the little 5 points that you said at the end, but the big thing, you know, the secret to impact, be in the room wherever you are. What's been your favourite bit?
You playing and just going off script, because you had your notebook and then I said something, then you went somewhere else. And that's the art of being a phenomenal podcaster, which is what you are, because you give permission for someone like me just to be.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Mr. Risner.
See you soon.